we get right into the pick'ems?
We have plenty of time to explain ourselves.
We have plenty of time now that we have the timer up and everything. So first I have up here, I hope it's in the same order of you here, Jacksonville at Buffalo. Now this will be a fun game to watch. Jacksonville did have a good game this week, but like I said earlier in the show, Ryan Fitzpatrick also had a good game. It really, I think, will be a shootout. And I'm going to give it to Buffalo because I think they want to win more.
Okay, I'm also going to give it to Buffalo just because I think just the inconsistency of Garrard just can't, they're such a confusing team. And the only other side of this I looked at was the Bills have given up 38 points in the last 2 games. But you know what, the Bills have to win eventually, so this is their one chance.
I'm going to give it to the Jags, actually, and I think the reason is that Del Rio and David Garrard both know their jobs depend on this game. If they do not perform in this game, they're out of here. The Jags have Trent Edwards now, who isn't a proven NFL commodity. I mean, sometimes he was average for Buffalo, but David Garrard is just shown to be inconsistent, and we'll see what happens this week against a team like Buffalo.
One thing you say the same about Denver at Baltimore. Neither teams had a decisive win last week. It came down to it, and I'm still haven't picked who I'm going to go with yet. I mean, you have Joe Flacco, who did show towards the end of the game that he was able to lead this team and everything. And it isn't Baltimore, so I'm going to give it to Baltimore.
I'm also giving it to Baltimore just because of their defense. I think that's what stands out about them the most. And I don't think Denver's offense is as good as the Ravens' defense.
I think this one could swing either way, but I'll give it to Baltimore.
New York Giants at Houston in Reliance Stadium. I'm going to go with Houston. The Giants did win this week, but again, look who they played. And I think they're going up against Houston, like we said, returning Brian Cushing, and I think it will be a hard-hitting game, and I obviously think that the Houston Texans are going to win, but you never know.
I'm choosing the Texans just because of the way that Eli Manning played yesterday. He really didn't do much of note. So I think until we really see that Eli Manning is the quarterback that everyone expects, then I'm going to see the Texans winning this game.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to the Texans as well. The Giants have a great front line, but I'm not sure about their secondary. And I think the Matt Schaub-Andre Johnson connection is just something, if Andre Johnson's healthy by then, which hopefully he is. But I think that could be really powerful in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago at Carolina. I think this is a great matchup this week. I think most matchups that we are talking about are going to be fun games to watch. You have Chicago at a terrible game, and Carolina, who because of rookie Jimmy Clausen couldn't get a drive together at the end there. And I'm going to go with Carolina here, just because I think it's going to be very close. But I think Carolina doesn't have as much to improve on as Chicago did this week.
Well, I think the issue with the Bears right now is their quarterback situation because you have 2 quarterbacks that were taken out last game, and especially with Cutler, there's no way that he'll be able to start. I can't say that, but I don't think
he has
will
cartilage
start.
Damage. So,
no, that's Vic.
The concussion. Whoops.
No, but because it's the same thing with Cobb. When he had the concussion, I don't think he can pass these tests or anything. I don't think Cutler would want to play this because of how badly he got beat up. But I just don't see Cutler playing this game. So that's why I'm going to give it to the Panthers, who should have won last week.
Right. I said, I believe, the first week that Jay Cutler and Mike Martz are a dangerous combination. It's either they're slinging the ball around the field and just not caring about where it goes, or they're holding on to it too long.
Yep.
And it's going to be really telling. They were lucky to get those first 3 wins, the Bears. The Packers should have won that game. It's just those 18 penalties that really killed it for them.
Yep.
But I could actually see this one going either way, but I'm going to give it to Carolina.
Interesting.
So Green Bay at Washington. McNabb had a pretty decent game this week. He wasn't a superstar by any means, and he was making very sloppy throws, especially towards the end of the end of the first half. In Green Bay, we talked about that earlier in the show. It's just, again, I think it's going to be another awesome matchup. It's at Washington, and not to keep going on this trend, but I'm going to give it to Washington.
Okay, I'm going to give it to the Packers just because I think their offense is so good. They just haven't shown how good they are. They have, but they haven't, just because they show it in the first quarter, but they don't show it for the rest of the game. So I think if they can come out and keep performing, I think it's the Packers.
Absolutely. If they can just get rid of those small mistakes they've been making, well, sometimes they're not small if there are 18 penalties in a game. But if they if they can fix those, then I think they are one of the best teams in this league, and I think they'll take this one.
All right, I'm going against a smart pick on this next game, Kansas City at Indy. My brain is telling me to say Indianapolis, but I feel like this would be a game that people aren't going to expect Kansas City to win. I know they're 3-0, but then again, it's not like they're playing like a 3-0 team all the time. Castle isn't this phenomenal quarterback. In the Colts still have Peyton Manning, who is quite the quarterback. He's now the third all-time leading passer, and just passed John Elway. But I'm going to just, for momentum purposes, I'm going to give it to Kansas City, and that's the only reason I can give you is for momentum purposes.
You can say they've had a week to prepare because of the bye week. I don't know. But I'm just going to give it to the Colts just because I pick more conservatively.
Yeah, I'll give it to the Colts as well.
Yeah, so it's a very unconservative pick. A game that this team will and have to win this week. Tampa Bay is playing at Cincinnati, and Cincinnati will have a great comeback game. And I think Tio could put up numbers that he put up last week, and maybe they'll share the ball this time.
The Bucs lost their last game to the Steelers, had the bye week. I don't know how they're going to come off of that, but just like you said, the Bengals need to win this, I think. So we're just going to give it to Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'll give it to Cincinnati as well. Like I said, it's either one side of the ball is playing well for Cincy or the other one is. Well, Tampa, both sides are playing terrible. So, Cincy.
Okay, now I think on this next game we're going to be a little split here. St. Louis at Detroit. St. Louis played well last week. Like Andrew was saying, Sam Bradford played like a quarterback that's had more than 3 starts. But I think the Detroit Lions have been playing these fantastic teams and coming within 3 points, 7 points. And I think they are ready to win. And they're in Detroit. Hopefully the fans will be there to back them up. But I think Detroit will take this one.
Same reasoning. That's exactly what I was going to say. So I'll give it to Lions as well.
I was going to give it to the Lions too.
Really? I swore at what you said about Sam Bradford.
No, I believe on a whole the Lions are a more talented team.
It's going to be a close game, though.
Yes. Atlanta at Cleveland. Cleveland just won, but Atlanta is looking pretty decent. It's like the sophomore slump is gone for Matthew Ryan, and we are seeing a more complete Atlanta team that we saw in his first season. Cleveland, you're Cleveland. Sorry, you did have a nice win this week, but don't get used to it. Atlanta is going to take this one.
I'm giving it to the Falcons, and it's not based off their offense, surprisingly. I'm basing it off their defense, and they've been shutting out opponents in the last few weeks just because the offense hasn't really been able to score that much. They won 17-14 last week against the 49ers. So I think as long as the defense can beat the Browns, which I don't think will be difficult, you'll see the Falcons winning this game.
I'm going with the Falcons too.
Saints at Arizona. You can say what you want about the Saints, and I will pick them, but
See the Falcons winning this game.
I'm going with the Falcons too.
Saints at Arizona. You can say what you want about the Saints, and I will pick them, but they are not a fantastic team, nor were they last year when they won the Super Bowl. Like the Colts, they had a lot of games they should not have won, especially against the Redskins last year. That sticks out in my mind. But they're playing the cluster of the Arizona quarterback club, so I'm going to give it to the Saints.
Saints.
Tennessee at Dallas. For no other reason than I like Tennessee's the way they're playing right now, even though they didn't win yesterday. I think especially after that game, they will bounce back and they will beat Dallas, who had the bye week.
Chris Johnson really needs to pick it up. I just think the Titans are going to win this one.
I'm going to give it to Dallas after the bye week.
Okay.
Philadelphia at San Francisco. Big game. Like we were saying, Cobb is most likely going to start. I don't think they really have another choice. And against a 49ers team that needs a win. It's at San Francisco, but I'm going to give it, and I'm going to give it to San Francisco because I think the Philadelphia Eagles are a mess right now.
I'm going to give it to the 49ers. They're going to get their first win of the year.
I'm going to give it to Philadelphia. I'm not sure what's going on in San Francisco right now. Even though there's the unstable nature of the Philly quarterback position, I would think that in San Francisco you just have a team that's unstable on a whole. So I'm going to give it to Philadelphia.
Minnesota at New York Jets. Say what you want if you don't like the Jets, just like me, but you cannot give this one to the Vikings. They are not playing football like they were last year, and the Jets are just going to be too good, and they're going to take that.
Unless you're me, because I'm choosing the Vikings.
Are you really?
Yeah, I really think they perform well in primetime. They didn't do well in the opening kickoff game, but who does? Let's be honest.
I'm going to give it to the Vikings too. After the bye week, I think they're going to come out, they're going to be prepared, and I think soon this Jets team is going to fall apart. It might not be this week. It might be more around.
I agree with that.
It might be around week 6, week 8, somewhere around there. But sooner or later, that locker room is going to explode. There's too many personalities. There's too many big heads. I think that it's going to get the better of them in the end of the season.
I agree with that completely. And do you think, really quick, the Vikings will take this bye week and push it a winning record for the rest of the season?
I think they'll have a winning record, whether or not it might be ugly. But I think overall, they'll make the playoffs in the end.